Hello, you are tuned in to another episode of Mental Health, the New Wealth Podcast. I am your host, Nikita Nicole, the Illuminist, and I am so excited that you decided to join us for another episode. Today, we're going to get into a topic that a lot of us are greatly affected by. And so, the reason for this podcast is to make sure that we can develop balance for optimal living in our lives and that we point out the things that we may be going through that are causing us mental difficulty and affecting how we live our everyday lives. A lot of the difficulties and disorders that we experience are developed over time, normally through childhood. Due to this, we go into our adult lives subconsciously repeating some of the same things that we experienced in our childhood, wanting to make them right or return back to those places in our lives so that we can develop some healing from those areas. So today, we're going to talk about independent disguised abandonment, the correlation between abandonment and independence, and how it shows up in our everyday lives, and what we can do to discover better balance between the two to live optimally. Before we get into this episode, let me say that I am not a licensed mental health professional nor doctor, although I will host licensed professionals as guests from time to time. The mental health difficulties discussed on this podcast will come from extensive research, life experiences of myself and others, and are not to be taken as diagnosis, prescription, or cure to any health mental difficulties or disorders. If you are experiencing deep mental health difficulties of any kind and have lasted for any duration of time, please contact your local mental health professional for assistance with treatment. If you or someone you know is suffering with mental distress or thoughts of suicide, you are not alone. Please call the toll-free National Suicide Prevention Hotline, open 24/7 at 1-800-273-8255. Again, that is 1-800-273-8255. Now let's get into the episode. Webster's dictionary defines independence as free from outside control, not depending on another's authority. Also, not depending on another for livelihood or sustenance. Webster's dictionary defines abandonment as having been deserted or cast off, cease to support or look after, to desert, leaving with no intention to return, to give up completely. In regular terms, abandonment is a deep fear of being hurt, rejected, or left, a form of anxiety that has been developed over time, usually due to traumatic experiences. These experiences are normally developed in our childhood and programmed into our subconscious, which then later in life develop unbalanced attachment habits. Hey y'all, we back at it again, and I am so excited that you decided to join me for another episode of Mental Health, the New Wealth. I am fighting so diligently to make sure that I stay consistent for healing of the collective and just to hold myself accountable to break some of the mental health difficulties that I also face on a regular basis. So nowadays, we give a lot of glory to being independent. We give a lot of glory to doing things on your own. And don't get me wrong, there are advantages to doing things on your own. At a certain age, it is only your responsibility to make sure that you are taken care of and your loved ones and your immediate family is taken care of. However, it is important that we fare on the level of balance. And that being the case, a lot of men and women hide behind independence due to their abandonment. When I say that, a lot of men and women go around in victimhood. I'll do this on my own. I've been doing this on my own. There has been no one there to help me. My parents have not been there. My spouse has not been there. Everyone has not been there. So I have done this on my own. This is the way it is. I don't need anyone's help. And so, because of that, we parade this independence, but only to cover up our abandonment and hurt issues. We cover up the wounds that we have developed over time due to some things that have happened in our lives. So, we're going to break down today what abandonment is, what it looks like, and how we can come from under the clutches of abandonment and start to be able to heal those things so we can show up as our best selves. So, in going into abandonment and speaking of the signs of abandonment, this is the list of some things that abandonment may look like in your everyday life. Understanding that there are extreme opposites to these signs that I'm sharing with you today. So, a person that is going through abandonment may look like a people pleaser. They always want to please people. They always want people to see them in a favorable way. So they go out of their way, even if it is not served them in the best manner. This may look as if you are very clingy, but on the other end, it can look as though you're unattached, constantly saying that you don't care about other people's opinion or their feelings about what you have going on and what you're doing. Usually, people that have or are suffering with abandonment have low self worth and are insecure. They need consistent assurance of the position that they are in your life or the position that they hold, constantly having to be told that they are loved and will not be discarded. One of the other signs of abandonment is they don't trust. They have a hard time trusting others or believing what they're told to be true, always waiting for the bottom to fall out of the situation or to discover some betrayal or untruth. They are afraid to be vulnerable. They are afraid to open up and be truly connected and attached to another, causing them to have issues in relationships, impeding longevity and true growth and companionship. So now that we see some of these signs of abandonment, let's look at how they look in our lives. When you are experiencing abandonment or you have abandonment issues, you might tend to find yourself looking towards the bad, looking for the bad in people. Everything could seem to be going well. You meeting new people, things are happening for you, and then you find yourself looking at the bad in a person or a situation so that you can be prepared for your exit. This also looks like self-sabotage. You find these bad things so that you can remain detached from the situation so that you can exit at any time with being the less hurt in the end. A lot of times you set extremely high expectations for others that it is very hard for them to be able to meet. So then when they don't meet these expectations, you are felt let down, and then you can also create your exit. And so, doing research about abandonment, it was really amazing because I had discovered that I too have experienced some of these levels of abandonment. Now, I know how it is that I am in relationships or what I bring to the table, but I think that me personally, I used to put people up to the standard of what I would do. And so, what I mean by that is, I would say, well, I would do this like this. So, this person probably should do it like that also, not giving that person opportunity to be an individual themselves. And so, when they didn't meet the standard of what I would do or how I would handle a situation, then I would be disappointed because of the expectations that I had set for that person or the outcome of that relationship. So, due to that, I discovered that I was making little tallies, little check marks, one by one until it was overwhelming. And then I saw the issue or I saw the relationship or situation as something that I was not going to be able to move forward in because this person had continuously let me down when, in fact, the person didn't even know that they were being held to such a high standard or held to these expectations because we never discussed them. I discussed the generality of the relationship, but I never told them the little things that I was making in my head as to what I wanted them to live up to. And so when they didn't do that over and over and over again, I would then want to discard the relationship and not move forward. Another way that this looks in our lives when we're experiencing abandonment and how it plays out is you move too quickly in relationships. You know that person, or it could be you yourself, that always jumps from relationship to relationship. They always want to stay in the honeymoon phase of the relationship, the fun, the new, the shiny part of the relationship, so they can always have that feeling, always have those tinglies, and don't really delve into who they are and who the person is, so that they too can start doing the work to coexist one with another. So when the newness of the relationship fades off and things start to become real, they then want to discard or abandon the relationship because they have not done the work to heal from the previous wounds of relationships, childhood abandonment, and patterns that they have experienced before. Also, the way this may look in your life is clinging to unhealthy relationships. And one would say, why would a person continually choose a relationship or continually pick a situation or a type of person that they know is not good for them or resembles the negative experiences that they have had before? And the truth of the matter is that I spoke about in one of the episodes before, we're making decisions off of the subconscious trauma that is programmed within our heads. A lot of them, which has been developed from the time we are 7 years old. So just say, for instance, you have a bad relationship with your mother, bad relationship with your father, whether it be your siblings or whatever. You are continuously seeking the person of the characteristics as your mother, as your father, as these siblings, as these experiences, so that you can subconsciously relive them again and correct them. However, because you are picking the same people, the same energy that was expressed in these traumatic experiences, and you have not healed from these experiences, you then are destined to repeat the same situations over and over because you don't have the tools to stand up to, or to remove yourself from, or to change the trajectory of your place in those relationships. And so, because of that, you continue to seek out and select subconsciously the same people that hurt you over and over again until you heal yourself and discover that you deserve better and you cannot continue to repeat these things wanting different results. You have to change yourself. This is also a really big one that men and women go through, especially women. Their abandonment showing up as over independence. And this is what the main topic of this episode is, because at this day and time, it is time for us to work together. It is time for us to move forward in life and see how we are able to help one another. It is too hard out here to do everything by yourself and still maintain a healthy mental space. I'm not saying that it cannot happen, but I am saying that it is very hard. It is very taxing. It is very laboring to do everything yourself and make sure that you maintain a healthy level of mental space so that you are healthy for yourself and those around you. And so, this over independence of I can do it for myself, I don't need help from anyone. And men have this also. I'm not just predicating this towards females, but men have this also. I don't need help from anyone. I've been doing these things by myself. I got it. Don't worry about it. To where when someone just wants to bring happiness into your life, when someone wants to just assist you and lighten the load a little bit, you are so predicated on doing everything yourself because you have told yourself this story that you have always done everything yourself, that you will not allow the load to be lifted a little bit off of your shoulders. And if you do allow it, you don't allow it on a regular basis because you're always looking at the person, wondering when the bottom will fall out, or wondering if this person has ulterior motives as to why they are helping you, why they are lightening your load, why they are assisting you in the way that they are. And let me just speak to you, King, to you, Queen. You deserve assistance. You deserve favor. You deserve blessings and abundance. You deserve everything that is good, righteous, and abundant in this world. There shouldn't have to be an ulterior motive for why someone assists you, why someone wants to be a blessing to you, why someone sees you as a good person and they want to sow into your life. If someone sees that in you, you shouldn't take that as someone wanting to abuse you or take advantage of that. More oftentimes than not, we are going around self sabotaging, living below our capacity, because we will not allow others to be a blessing into our lives. We will not allow others to sow seeds of prosperity, assistance, and abundance into our lives because we feel like we must always do everything by ourselves based on the traumatic experiences that we have suffered in our lives. I used to pride myself in being a realist. Oh, I keeps it real. I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell it to you and make it plain. However, what I learned in my journey of being a spiritual being here in this physical experience is me being a realist and me telling things as it is only kept me in the vibrational frequency of what I did not want. Me speaking on those things as I saw them, which it was how they were in my physical experience, but ethereally, energetically, spiritually, that is not what was going on. There was a lesson that I needed to learn. There was something that I needed to delve into as to why I feel the way I do. But instead of learning them as lessons, I would tell myself and others that, oh, I keeps it real. This is how it is. Ain't nobody helped me. I got it out the mud. And if you look on the outside looking in, that is the case. However, there are so many things happening spiritually. There were so many people that blessed me out of the blue. There were so many people that were praying for me. There were so many people that went out of their way to make sure that I was cool, but didn't let me know that it was them that was helping me. So none of us are doing this by ourselves. Whether someone pays for your Starbucks in the line before you, whether somebody puts money on your pump at the gas tank, whether someone at the daycare watches your children just a couple of minutes more because you're running late and they don't charge you, whatever it is, you are being assisted. And so you calling yourself, oh, keeping it real, telling it like it is not assisting you and moving forward in the abundance and the beauty and the blessings and the stress-free living that you can have if you just work through your abandonment and not disguise it as independence. So I learned that it was more important for me to speak things as if I wanted them to be rather than what I saw at that time. I learned that it was important to allow people to be a blessing into my life, to allow people to help me, that I didn't have to struggle. I didn't have to stress. I didn't have to strain over everything that I received in my life. I didn't have to fight for people to stay. I didn't have to submerge others in so much love and so much compassion and so much affection that I was abusing the principles and boundaries that I set for myself to maintain my source of happy living. It is important to exert your boundaries. Absolutely. Your boundaries are set there to make sure that you are protected and not harmed. However, your boundaries must be created out of a healed place in order to be effective. And you must be able to look through situations and circumstances and understand where they are triggers for you and you are hurt. Or is this a real boundary that is being crossed? Is this person really being kind to me? Or am I being triggered because I'm not used to a person repeatedly being kind to me without wanting something in return? Is this person really someone that I need to stay with in a relationship and work this through? Or is my daddy issues or my mommy issues coming up in my life? And so I feel like I must stay in this relationship because if I don't, subconsciously, I'm leaving my dad again, or I'm leaving my mom again, or they are in turn leaving me. During my life growing up, I found myself in a lot of hard situations, whether it be friendships or relationships, because I just stayed too long, knowing within me that this was not the healthiest situation, knowing that I should have severed ties a long time ago, but always trying to give another person extra chances. Chances that most oftentimes they didn't deserve because I felt like subconsciously I was written off. I was abandoned. People didn't give me chances. So I would give others extra chances to make sure that they felt loved, to make sure that they felt honored. But most oftentimes, if they are not doing the work within themselves, you can give a person 1,000 chances and you're still going to remain with those feelings of hurt and abandonment because that person is never going to get themselves together for you. A person can get themselves together for themselves, but never expect someone to get themselves together for you. This episode of Mental Health, the New Wealth podcast was sponsored by Jabez Enterprise Group and Best Publishing. Jabez Enterprise Group is the hub to help you manifest, inspire, and support your business dreams, visions, and goals. Also, as an activist and philanthropist in the small business community, Best Publishing has developed 2 self-help books, Get the Cheese, Avoid the Traps, a guide on government contracting, and Speaking in Colors, a guide on effective communication, diversity, and inclusion. Go on over to JabezEnterpriseGroup.com to be assisted in manifesting, inspiring, and supporting your business dreams and goals, or to purchase Get the Cheese, Avoid the Traps, or Speaking in Colors. That is JABEZ enterprisegroup.com. By no means am I saying that the things that have caused these abandonment feelings are not legitimate. They did happen and they are present. However, I'm saying in your adult life as moving forward, you cannot allow these things that made you feel abandonment make you suffer in your adult life, perpetuating continued frequency of discouragement, insecurity, jealousy, possessiveness, controlling, self-sabotage, detachment, issues with commitment. You cannot allow these lower level vibrations to live in your life and then in the same breath say that you want all that spirit has for you. And maybe you aren't even to that level yet. Maybe you don't even realize that, but I'm here on this episode to tell you today that you are worth it. You are worthy. You are worthy to be loved. You are worthy for someone to fight in a relationship to stay with you as long as it's healthy. You do deserve to have a long-lasting, committed relationship. You are worthy of having someone be able to articulate and communicate with you their feelings and emotions before they make rash decisions. You are worthy of someone helping you without ulterior motive, someone helping you because they just really dig the type of person that you are. They just really like you and want to see you succeed and want to lighten the load for you a little bit. You deserve that. And if you didn't feel that before, I'm telling you now, you do deserve that. You deserve that, King. You deserve someone to be there for you, not looking at you just for monetary gain, to be there for you, to lighten your load as a masculine in this world. You deserve that, Queen, for someone to be your rest, your reasoning, your support. On this show, we err on the side of balance. So it's very important to utilize your masculine and feminine energy in equal portions. We all have feminine and masculine energies that operate inside of us simultaneously. The issue comes when you're using one of those energies more than another. As a divine feminine, it's important that I understand and use the attributes of masculinity in my life so that I can live balanced. Also to be said with males, it is important for you to use some of that feminine energy that you have to balance out that masculinity so that you can find those places of nurturing, caring, and compassion within yourself, for yourself, and for others. And this is not about gender. This is whatever you identify with. It does not matter. But the bottom line is, regardless, you need to be masculine and femininely balanced. So you find issues in your life when you're a divine feminine and you're using too much of your masculine energy. So case in point, as a divine feminine, if you are too much in your masculine energy and you always are walking around with the energy that you don't need any help, you do everything on your own. You've done it this way for so long, so you will continue to do it. That will continue to be perpetuated in your life. That is what will continue to show up for you in your life. So do you want to keep doing that? Do you want to keep doing this on your own? True divine masculines are going to be guided to a true divine feminine. So if you are too much in your masculine energy, there is no place for him to assist you, to be your helpmate, to be your refuge, because you got it. And you will attract to yourself feminine energy, people that need to be taken care of, people that need to be sought after, people that need to, you need to go the extra mile for, or cannot stand on their own 2 feet. And vice versa with males. If you are using too much of your feminine energy and you are not balanced, you will continue to find people in your life that are domineering, always trying to tell you what to do, always trying to let you know to play. And you looking at them like, hey, but I'm the man. But your energy is imbalanced and you're maneuvering more so out of your feminine energy. So you are aligning yourself with those who are of masculine energy. And you are experiencing relationships with people in your lives that are dominant, which only is making you feel worse, which only is making you feel more suppressed because you are imbalanced. Don't let abandonment, don't let past traumatic events determine how you will move forward in your life. Use them as lessons and figure out ways that you are able to uncover those things, heal those things, and move forward. So if you meet someone or someone is in your life that reminds you of a traumatic event, even if you might not remember the exact event that actually happened, but just remember and understand that this particular person or this particular situation is not the same thing that you went through before. And there are ways that you can set healthy boundaries for yourself. Who wouldn't want the best of what life has for them? Who wouldn't want to have thriving connections and relationships with like minded individuals? But with you disguising your abandonment as independent, you can't make these connections. And so, what'll end up happening is you'll end up seeking after those who you need to discontinue relationships with and losing those that you should keep connections with, which then keeps you in this cycle, this falsehood of meeting new people, staying around until it fizzles out, and then moving along because you won't allow yourself to be vulnerable, to be connected, to be authentic, to make those connections in healthy ways so that you won't abuse yourself in the process while you are attempting to cultivate new relationships and keep them, being an intricately important part of the reciprocity that you two share as like minded individuals. If we need to keep it real with anyone, let's keep it real with ourselves and figure out what parts about us are keeping us in non productive, unreciprocal, unhealthy karmic relationships. Aren't you tired of being hurt? Aren't you tired of jumping from one situation to another? Aren't you tired of nitpicking and finding the negative in people in certain situations and not being able to have real relationships? Aren't you just tired of simply being imbalanced in your own life and energetically calling in everything that you don't want? I know I was. I was tired of getting drugged. My energy was so imbalanced that I was always connecting myself with people who needed assistance, who needed help. However, because I overstepped my bounds and I was imbalanced in my energy, and at the time I had not worked through the abandonment issues that I was experiencing, I allowed myself to be hurt, causing deeper wounds than what I had initially. So let's talk about some things we can do to release these chains of abandonment, false independence, that I got it mentality. We need each other, but we need each other in healthy relationships. We need each other in healthy reciprocal spaces. So let's talk about some things that we can do to work through these abandonment issues so that we can live in our lives optimally. So, first and foremost, when dealing with abandonment, you must first acknowledge what's going on. You must acknowledge. I wasn't able to do my own work until I discovered, yes, sis, you got some issues. You got some things that you need to work out. You have some things that you need to look at, recycle, break down, so that I can then see what it was that I really needed to work through. Just thinking about it is not good enough because your thoughts can become scattered, things can become convoluted, and then you're not able to fully see why it is you are the way you are currently, right? So, the best way to do that is to journal. You don't necessarily have to have a formal journal, right? However, you can write it down. Take a regular piece of paper, take some time out for yourself, sit by yourself, meditate and collect and figure out, where did this come from? Where did these levels of distrust come from? Why do I feel this way? Was it because of my mom? Was it because of my father? Was I in a blended family? Did my family was my parents working all the time and they weren't there for me? They provided for me, but they weren't there physically. What is it as to why you're feeling the way that you feel? Was I verbally abused? Was I sexually abused? Was I physically abused? What first stemmed this lack of trust? What first stemmed that I felt like people would not stay? What first happened to make me feel like I did not deserve the best in life? Where did that come from? Once you're able to write that down and to depict what's going on, then you're able to move forward. So, like I said, you can keep a journal. If you don't want to keep a journal, you can just write it down on a regular sheet of paper so that you can see, what's going on. But then you must make some decisions about how you're going to move forward. How do I choose to push forward and move forward in my life? Some of these issues that you write down might be so deep and might be so piercing that you might need to seek therapy. You might need to seek a counselor or someone outside of yourself, someone outside of your family or your friend circle that is able to talk to you and help you break down some of these issues that you are experiencing or that keep on resurfacing in your life so that you can really sort and sift through some of these things. And so you can have professional tools as to what you need to do to help yourself recover from the wounds of abandonment. After you acknowledge, you must decide within yourself that you're no longer going to be controlled by the guides of your abandonment. And you have to release. You have to release. You have to let it go. Something that was also brought to my attention, which I was like, wow, that's a great idea. Write a letter to the person or to the last known address that you remember with no return address. So you can write a letter about how this person made you feel, the different circumstances and situations that you experienced from this person, and how it affected you, and forgive them. Forgive yourself. You're letting them know how they hurt you. It's never a good place to want any type of outcome from a person that hurt you. It's also good if you can actually talk to the person over the phone if it wasn't too much of a traumatic situation because you're not sure as to how you would react to that person based on the response that they give you. But if you talk to them over the phone or via video chat or whatever the case, then if it gets too much, you can just simply hang up. But at least you let this person know how you feel, how what they did affected you, and how you want to choose to move forward, but mainly that you forgive them and you forgive yourself. You have to change your thought process about how you're going to move forward in your life regarding these situations. Yes, they happen. I would never tell you to forget them, but you must come from a place of forgiveness. You must seek a place of healing. Another way that you can heal or work through this is to speak up. Speak out. Tell your story. Let people know what you have gone through and how you have recovered from these things or how you would like to see yourself recover. If you can't speak up to those who actually cause the issues for you, speak up and out on a platform and not social media. Social media is the peanut gallery. I'm not talking about making passive aggressive or subliminal posts online. I'm not talking about that. And going on every couple of minutes and seeing what people are commenting and what they're saying about what you're posting. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in a healthy manner expressing the things that you have gone through, which in turn will help others in their abandonment in their life. It's also important for you to watch what you listen to, watch what you look at, watch what you entertain or what you consider to be entertainment for yourself. If you have gone through abusive relationships, if you have found yourself in relationships or situations that weren't positive, it's not good for you to look at TV programs and things that perpetuate the subconscious over and over in a negative way. If you have gone through domestic violence or other abusive situations, it's not good for you to be watching no First 48. If you have had issues with cheating or infidelity or, like I said, other facets of unhealthy relationships, it's not good for you to immerse yourself in quote unquote fake reality TV. That's not what you need to be watching. I am a lover of music. I love all kinds of music. But when you are working on your healing, when you're working on doing the work, and you're trying to cultivate yourself into the king or the queen that you are wanting to be in your everyday life, you might can't listen to Megan Thee Stallion. You might can't listen to Lil Baby, the Baby. You can't listen to nobody that name is Baby. If they name Baby, don't listen to it. Because you're trying to be an adult. You ain't trying to work on being a baby. You're trying to acknowledge those things that are triggers for you so you can show up for yourself in the best light. So, watching what you use to entertain yourself visually, audioly. Is audioly even a word? Y'all like how I made that word up, audioly? But what you are looking at, what you are listening to, what you do on an everyday basis. You might can't go to certain places. You might can't do certain things. If you are working through these things to become your best self. Also, it is important that you read books. One of the books that I discovered that is very great on this topic, amongst other topics, is The Four Agreements. The Four Agreements is a very short, easy read. I suggest everyone read it. I want to say by Miguel Ruiz. Please do not crucify me if that is not that man's name, okay? But I believe it's The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz. And it's a book based off of four principles. These principles are: be impeccable with your word. Do what you say you're going to do. A lot of us that are dealing with abandonment are going through or have gone through people not doing what they say that they're going to do. So, because we are direct reflections of one another, it is important that you be impeccable with your word. That way, you attract others that are impeccable with their word and do what they say that they're going to do. The second principle: don't take it personal. A lot of times we expect people to be things in our lives that they can't be to themselves. Case in point, there was a time that I did not have my father in my life, right? But I could not expect him to be a certain thing for me that he could not even be for himself, or his parents were not for him. So, how can I expect a person to show up and show out in the way that I determined that they should if they don't have the tools to do so? So, we must show grace, love, and compassion, and don't take it personal. Don't internalize everything that happens as someone is doing something directly to you. We are going around as open wounds. Real talk. You know, when you get your meat from the store and it's that little packet, a blood meat packet. I'm grossing myself out, y'all. I don't even eat meat no more, but me saying blood meat packet. We are walking around real life human open blood meat packets. We are walking around harmed. We are walking around abused and have not been doing our work. So when you walk around like that, I can't expect you to treat me properly. You don't even know how to treat yourself properly. So don't take everything so personal. One of the third philosophies is don't assume. You heard that old adage, when you assume, you make an ass out of you? But I'm going to add something to this. Don't assume and don't have expectations. When you assume a person is going to do a certain thing, or you assume how a person is thinking, or assume how a person is feeling, and make expectations based off of your assumptions, you will lose every time. I promise you. You will lose every time. So don't assume and don't make expectations based off of what you feel someone else is thinking, doing, or should be doing. And the fourth agreement is always do your best. I will say again, we are direct reflections of each other. So if you are continually around a person, or you are continually around people that are always letting you down, and that are always not keeping their word, who are always taking things personal, who are always assuming and just not showing up in their best light, and they always seem to be around you, then what is that saying about your balance and how you're living your life on a daily basis? Are you always doing your best? And you can't say yes to that question if you're continually seeing affirmations that you are not doing your best in your life. So, moving on to other things that we can do. And speaking of affirmations, this is very important. Speak things as if they already are. Speak things as you want to see them, and you already don't like it. So let's quit repeating the same things that we're doing to get us the same results. Quit being insane. Affirm things as though they already are. And this is going to take some time. It's not going to be a quick fix. You have spent years repeating the same self doubt talk, believing the same things about myself and my situations, and that how I had to do everything by myself and no one was going to stay, and everybody did nice things for me because they wanted something from me. So the same number of years that you used to speak to yourself negatively and that you allowed others to speak to you negatively, you have to use that same amount of time plus to speak affirmative, life giving things to yourself. It's not going to happen overnight, but you will have to continue to do these things, continue to speak to yourself affirmatively until it reprograms your subconscious and you start living out and start seeing the positive things happening in your life. Pets are really good for unconditional love. I feel like God put pets down here to be an example of God love within this earth. You can do a pet wrong and they'll still come. They'll still love you. Now, cats is a little bit different now. Cats ain't gonna play with you like that. Cats are an ancient animal. Cats ain't playing with you like that. But get yourself a dog. They are something that you can care for, something that you can look after, almost like you care for and look after people in your life that don't deserve your treatment. At least the pet does. At least the pet is gonna love you. At least when you come home, the pet gonna be there. The pet not gonna talk crazy to you. The pet not gonna abuse you. Create more hobbies that you can do to put yourself in close proximity with like-minded individuals. I love painting. So often I go to sip and paint. This is something I can do that I can show myself self-love and caring, and then I can be around people that have common interests. This is a way that you can heal some of those places of abandonment. Especially for me, I was the only child, right? I was the only child for my mom, but my I had siblings on my dad's side. But because I developed some issues over time being the only child with my mom, I like doing things with others. Hobbies, join clubs. I like going to meetups. There's a meetup app online that's cool. You can join clubs based off of the things that you like to do and go on different outings, activities. You'll be surprised how many people that you can meet joining clubs or participating in hobbies, whether you like plants. There's so many things and groups that you can go out there and join. So I encourage you also to get Meetup, the Meetup app, if you want to figure out different ways that you can be around like-minded people so that you can repair some of those areas of abandonment. So once you start to implement these things in your life, you will start to discover that little by little, you are permanently healing some of the things through abandonment that you experience and that show up in your everyday life. You will still remember them. They will still be there, but the sting and the wounding will no longer be there. You will no longer walk around like that bloody meat packet. You will be healed, or you will start the process of healing. And that is the most important thing on this journey, is to heal yourself so that you don't have to continuously repeat over and over some of the negative things that you experience in life, so you can show up as your best self and manifest energetically people, places, things, experiences in your life that show you that you do deserve the best that life has to offer you. So those of you who might need to seek therapy after you do your list and figure out some things that have happened, that have gone through very traumatic experiences, and you might need to seek out therapy. If you don't have therapy in your direct relation or your direct area, and you do not know, you don't have medical things of that nature, check out choosingtherapy.com, Once again, that is choosingtherapy.com, or you can check out betterhelp.com. Betterhelp.com. These are some these are some websites that you can go on to find you a therapist. And right now they still are doing virtual therapy. You might not be able to meet a person one-on-one, but as long as you start the process, you must first put one foot in front of the other and just begin to do the work. By no means is the work easy. By no means is the work going to happen overnight. This is a continual thing that will never actually be complete. But you will see the fruits of the labor of you doing the work in your life. Make sure that you maintain spiritual wellness, physical wellness, mental wellness through balance that cultivate different experiences and love and compassion in your life. I hope this episode was helpful and that it created clarity for you and a good step into the direction of healing your abandonment issues, and that you no longer have to disguise these issues as independence or always having to do things on your own and by yourself, because you deserve a collective of individuals and circumstances that will make your burdens light. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. I am your girl, Nikita Nicole, and as always, please remember